Look how thin this lens is. Hey, welcome back. Unless you've been living under a rock the past couple of years, it's been near impossible to miss the supernatural amounts of hype that the Fujifilm X100V and its successor, the X100VI, have received in recent years. Seemingly the dream camera for Instagram influencers and street photographers alike, I just had to try it out because I couldn't understand how a camera that can't zoom or change lenses could be this popular. A while back, I made a video using my mate Mike's Fujifilm X100V. The conclusion I came to was that there was no objective reason for me to buy this $1.5 camera that technically is worse in almost all perceivable ways compared to my Sony. However, I have to admit, it was quite fun using it and I kinda get it. You know, playing around with Fujifilm's film recipes, having the simplicity of just having one focal length, as well as being able to get beautiful photos straight out of camera, offers a very unique appeal and a very different kind of workflow than what you might be used to if you're a Sony, Canon or a Nikon shooter. While I do get it, and it's been a while, I still don't think I can spend $1.5 on a Fujifilm camera. For that, my YouTube channel would need far more subscribers. So I tried to break down what factors about the Fujifilm X100V I actually liked to see if I can somehow replicate it with the equipment that I have. Number one, firstly, it's super portable and lightweight, so you can just sort of have it on the shoulder sling mode all day without needing a big bulky camera backpack. Secondly, it just looks really cool. I mean, look at this camera, it's aesthetically very pleasing. And lastly, it gives great straight out of camera photos because of its film simulation recipes. So the key challenge is there a way that I can meet some or all of these factors without having to buy a whole new camera? And this is where I'd like to introduce this experimental, ultra-portable setup using my new Sony a6700 as a base. I got this idea from my favorite lens reviewer, Arthur R, who recently made a Sony X100V kind of setup using the old Sony 28mm f2 autofocus lens that came out in 2015. Through him, I also came across this even newer and even thinner lens made by Viltrox, the CHIP lens. This is by far the thinnest lens I've seen for Sony. It's a fixed aperture, fixed focal length 28mm f4.5 lens and has autofocus, which means that unlike a lot of these ultra-thin pancake lenses that rely on manually focusing your shot, here you can simply half press the shutter button on your camera and the camera will do the focusing for you. Now, taking this lens and pairing it with this nicely padded PGY shoulder strap that I recently bought, we've got ourselves a Sony X100V, whatever you want to call it. Now, first thoughts, I really rate how small and portable this camera is and I'm quite excited to use it. So let's take it for a spin and see how it actually performs in the streets of Barcelona. Alright, let's get started. So, got my 6700 now with me and the Viltrox CHIP lens, which is insanely thin as you can see. I'm just going to be opening up the lens cap like so. Super cool that it's built in. I've never seen anything like that before on a camera lens. And we are going to be strolling around Barcelona today. We'll be checking out the Gothic quarter. That's what I'm walking towards at the moment. Gothic quarter, that kind of general area, I want to say is fairly good for street stuff. A bit nervous today because I don't really do that well with these medium focal lengths. So this is a 28mm lens, which once you apply the 1.5 crop factor that you have to for APS-C cameras, it becomes 42mm, which to me is a bit of an awkward one because you're not quite zoomed in, it's definitely not wide angle, it's not telephoto either. So I'm just not quite used to how to compose images with it. We'll try our best. It's definitely within the range of the typical sort of street photography focal lengths. So let's just give it a go and see how it works, eh? Trying to follow the light a little bit. As you can see, it's a nice sunny day, which results in a lot of interesting potential for shadow play, but I'm just trying to find the right streets because some of these streets, as you can see, are full of shade, whereas some of them are sort of fully illuminated. Ideally, we want a bit of both. You want some sunlight and you want some shadows. That way you can create contrast. It's been a while since I've done sort of daytime street photography, trying to get back into the rhythm of things, you know? Blend in, observe, take in your surroundings and find those interesting everyday moments that you might walk past in everyday life. That's what street photography is all about. I'm just realizing that I can really play around with this fully articulating screen. Also, quite a clean window over here actually. I'm going to try and take a reflection shot of this building right here. Touch to focus. Boom. Also realizing this kind of fully articulating screen thing can definitely come in handy because I can kind of take shot of stuff that's on the side, right? And if I just hold the display like this, it's almost like I'm looking around the corner. Interesting. Maybe that'll come in handy. Yeah, the pictures we're going to take today are not going to be your classic bokeh-licious, like really blurry background kinds of photos because we're stuck at f4.5. We can't increase or decrease the aperture. That's just what we've got, and that's okay, because look how small this lens is, right? Can't complain. The fact that I can't tweak the actual focal length, that I can't zoom in, or I can't tweak the aperture, makes things a bit simpler in my head, because there's less stuff to worry about. There's less things that I need to constantly adjust and then think about. So that's kind of neat, because it frees me up to actually think more about the shots that I'm taking. However, having said all that, I still think that 28mm is just a really awkward focal length, but we'll try our best. We'll try our best. What I've noticed is I've missed a couple of shots because they ended up being blurry, right? Sometimes I walk past the subject and just kind of spray and pray. However, when the shutter speed is too slow, you can't really do that, because what can happen is a blurry image that you can't actually use. So instead, I'm going to actually change my setting now. I'm going to change it to shutter priority, so that it's always at the same shutter speed that I control, which is going to be 1/200. The aperture can actually change anyway, so in a way, having this fixed aperture lens is nice because there's one less thing to worry about. ISO I set automatic. I just made sure that the upper limit isn't like stupidly high, so I set it at 4000 just to prevent it from jumping too high in slightly darker environments. And let's see, I think that's a slightly more optimized way of shooting with this setup. I'm actually going to turn off my silent shutter because a lot of these shop lights aren't going to get captured properly. Look at a cool smoke cloud there. Let me try that again. Kind of rated that. Actually, I like that. It kind of looks like, well, he is actually working there. I got one cloud, got one smoke cloud, and one shot of him walking to the hut. A bit of ambient music in the background, that's always nice. Okay, we're definitely in the more hectic part of town. Let me make sure all my equipment's safe. I get really self-conscious when doing street photography, I really don't like it when people are like super aware of the fact what I'm doing, and I get a little shy. So yeah, I do quite like the silent shutter option as a result. It's a nice pocket of light, but I'm not sure if this is the right one for me. Because the sun's hitting this plant from the back, it's kind of backlit and almost looks a bit translucent. I love the way the green looks. Hey, hope you're enjoying the video. Just a quick note that I sell presets now. So if you like the colors and the way I edit on my channel, check out my website where you can grab my preset packs for just $5. That's it. Enjoy the rest of the video. And this is just a random December day. The weather is this good just constantly in this country. It is hard not to get jealous whenever I visit, because especially as a street photographer, you just have really good lighting conditions. And look at this. I never get to capture anything like this in London. I'd have to take a day off work and then hope that it's a really sunny, really clear day in order to get this kind of light in London. It's quite a narrow strip of light, so ideally I just want for example, a person pushing their bike or something like that to go through. However, people are avoiding that patch of sunlight, which is a bit of a shame because it's such a cool setting. But this is where patience comes in. Oh wow, nice windows. That's a nice shot. I like how they were pointing at something in the window there. It's quite nice. Using my sideways scope. It's actually quite handy. I rate that. Yeah, I do quite like the outline that people actually get as you're walking towards the sun. It's a bit of a halo effect. It makes their hair glow, which can sometimes make for a nice image. So, Gothic Quarter, let's go. I kind of rate how this building is framed. You've got these two sort of darker leading lines almost towards this really, really brightly illuminated pillar of a building. And a really clear blue sky as well on top of that. See a street artist performing. So we can get some action shots here. That's a better angle. Oh, I do love the smell of those spray cans. It was very nice. Kind of like smelling petrol. It's quite pang. Okay, so unless I have gotten myself lost, we're going to be passing the Cathedral in a moment. Yep, Barcelona Cathedral, and after that we're basically in the Gothic Quarter. Cool. I think I may have walked around there last time I did a POV in Barcelona, but not 100% sure because it has been a while. Let's go check it out. Lovely little alleyway, lots of light. Let's see. Oh, that's cool. I really like this. There's a really nice sort of dramatic shadow, cool light conditions, yeah. Let's stay here for a second and see what we find. Oh, cyclist. Cool shadow again, but obstructed by other people. think that's probably the best I can do in this location because the light isn't actually hitting the people the way I thought it was. Kind of tricky. It's in the afternoon already, so the light is going to be hitting a lot of these alleyways at an angle, meaning that it's going to be trickier and trickier to find the right kind of alleyway. Oh, that's nice. Just strolling through the market, I'm coming across this little cool sort of courtyard just in front of the cathedral. First, let me try and take a picture of the cathedral, and then maybe some of these street performers. I can see some bubbles in the distance, which are promising. Yeah, this is nice. I need to back up a bit though. Like here. That's nice. Oh, there's a nice plane in the sky too. Adds a little bit of something to the sky, which is otherwise completely empty, just negative space. So that's cool. Just like a child, I am attracted to shiny, colourful things. So I will be walking towards this bubble guy, try and get some shots of him. Oh, that's a good bubble density. I like that. I like that. There's a good spot about it. Rate the light. I like the color contrast here. We've got sort of all primary colors in one shot. Really nice light again. Just give it a sec for that person. I missed the single subject that I wanted. But this is kind of nice. I like the spot. Maybe this woman. Get a nice long shadow in there. Dude. Yeah, man. It'd be cool if someone had a bike or something, just as an extra prop in the image. That's okay. The autofocus on this lens has been quite reliable, I have to say. Let's move on. So much noise. Just now the flip screen came in really handy, just because if I sort of put it like this, right, it just allows me to sort of get low and still see the image that I'm taking from the side, or from top down rather, which definitely isn't something that I used to be able to do with the 6500. So I'm noticing a lot more angle flexibility with this camera, which is nice. Yeah, a lot of like shooting around the corner, shooting low down like this, or doing this, all very helpful. I really like the look of this shop actually. This looks beautiful. Yeah, something like that works. Okay, a couple thoughts while things are fresh in my head. So really enjoy using this. It definitely took me a while to get warmed up because I'm not used to A, not being able to zoom in or out, and B, I'm also not used to this specific focal length. But like with everything in life, after a while, you get used to it. Things that I really like is just the obvious sort of form factor aspect. This is super light. I have no back pain whatsoever, which is great and kind of rare for me. And that's basically due to the fact that this is all I've got. I've got this, I've got my little DJI sort of action camera on my chest, and a water bottle with me. That's it. No camera backpack, nothing else. It's interesting to me that this is a fixed aperture length because that's not something I'm used to. I've never used anything like that before, but it's also not hugely important to me to be able to adjust my aperture. As long as my shutter speed is changeable, which it obviously always is in my ISO, it still gives me plenty of room and plenty of settings to play around to adjust my exposure. Generally on the 6700 front, loving the flip screen. It's been super useful in just like doing stuff like this, right? Just these crazy angles of like, when I want to shoot something really low down, I can do this with my camera and still see the shot. If I want to shoot around the corner, if I want to shoot something like on the side of me, I can do one of these. Because sometimes you want to be a little, nifty with your angles, and this definitely helps a huge ton. Quick shot here. I quite like this building because you can see this big contrast in the top half and the bottom half. The top half is illuminated by this beautiful sort of golden hour sunlight, while the bottom half is covered in graffiti and sort of construction mesh. Trying to use this as a bit of a natural frame. Things are quite far away though. Not sure how good that looks. I just quite like the sky and the sort of palm tree action there. It looks kind of neat. Quite like this composition. You got these palm trees surrounding this big carousel with people swinging. I'm just gonna wait for it to go a little higher, maybe above the trees. That would be a nice shot. Yeah, that works. Just something about palm trees, you know, always looks nice. Maybe because you just associate palm trees with sunshine automatically. Always a nice plant to photograph. Alright, what are my thoughts after shooting with this lens for a day in Barca? Firstly, I really like the portability of this camera. The deeper grip on the 6700 paired with the ultra lightweight lens makes for an incredibly comfortable hold for long periods of time. I'm also a huge fan of the integrated lens cap. It's a small difference, but one you notice if you're used to putting on and removing a lens cap hundreds of times and losing it in one of your pockets. One sort of nitpick, I guess not even really a nitpick, but 28mm just isn't my favorite focal length. At the start of filming, I kept thinking I'm kind of struggling to get the kinds of shots that I usually take, and I kept wanting to just zoom in a little bit because I'm so used to using zoom lenses like the Tamron 17-70. And I have to say, as the day went on and I got more used to the 28mm focal length, I did start feeling a lot better. And you know, this whole favorite focal length thing in general is entirely subjective, so this is not necessarily a gripe with the lens, it's more of an inherent skill issue on my part. Outside of the obvious ergonomic benefits of having a smaller setup, there's another added benefit in terms of street photography, which is having a smaller setup doesn't scream, hey, look at me, I'm a photographer. Especially when trying to capture candid street photographs, you don't want to always draw a lot of attention to you. Walking around with a full frame camera with a telephoto lens, for example, certainly makes it much harder to blend in than something like this. One thing I did notice shooting in Barcelona was that the light flare was quite bad in sunny environments, because you don't have space to attach the sort of lens hood that you normally might do with a lens. So that's something to call out if you frequently shoot in sunny conditions. While I don't think this lens is going to be necessarily good at, you know, taking ultra blurry background portraits or taking really low light sort of night photos, that's not what it's for. It's a fun little street photography lens for under £100 with autofocus. And if you think about it that way, it did exactly what it says on the tin. I'm really happy with this lens. I had a lot of fun playing around with it, and it's definitely going to just be thrown into my travel backpack for future trips because it is just that lightweight and that convenient to use. In summary, I think this lens is a lot of fun to play around with. I highly recommend you guys checking it out. Thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.